Fight for Your Life was truly born because I was fighting for mine. And I did have a half-assed plan. People like, you're training and stuff. You're trained to check if there's a plan. But I was grateful for a message from a psychiatrist a couple of years ago who said people need to stop thinking that the unalive ideation is just ideation, because it can slip really, really quickly into actually being unalived, and that people need to take that more seriously. Welcome to the Superpowered Evolution Podcast, Series 1, Fight for Your Life. I'm here to do a pre-episode, episode 0, after launching, to answer a few questions. What is the Superpowered Evolution Podcast? What is Fight for Your Life Series 1? Will there be more series? Who am I? Why are the early episodes a bit shit? Apparently you're not supposed to swear. Who am I? Why am I making it? Who's it for? Where's it going? We'll see how we go with all these. I don't want it to be too long, but I did want to give some context to the project. I would think that it probably would have been early 2022 that I came up with the idea. And I think I came up with the idea when I was confident. So I'd done a lot of healing, and I was starting to experiment with other ideas, like what is breathwork like, psychosynthesis, internal family system, starting to step into some other spaces a little bit. And but I was also really sick at the time, and I didn't really realize how sick I was until probably mid-2022. There's a dog nearby, sorry. I have a dog. He might come in. He might say hi. I actually had a kidney infection for 3 years, and it's due to a condition I was born with. I won't go on and on about it, but often I think people assume when you have a kidney infection or bladder infection, it's due to poor health. And basically my kidneys are going to make stones, whatever I do. So I do whatever I want. No, not quite. But I actually had a kidney stone about 1 centimetre lodged into the meat of my kidney. And so when I had surgery, they couldn't get it. And the way the health system was, and it was around just post-COVID, I think. The first surgery was before COVID, I think. And then no one followed it up, and they said they were going to follow it up, and I've got ADHD, and it was untreated then. And then I was like, wait, I'm still sick. Long story short, I was sick for 3 years and had surgery, I think it was early 2023. And it was actually an incident early 2020 that made me sick. Like an incident was a big part of that. And won't go into the mechanics of medullary sponge kidney, but you have an infection for 3 years, like an actual infection where you need antibiotics and you keep coming off of them because of the cost of antibiotics. That certainly takes its toll. And because it is a lifelong condition, and there are certain things I can do to make it a bit better, which namely means drinking 3 litres of water a day, which is a bit shit. But anyway, I was feeling pretty defeated. And the other thing that happens when you're really sick is, I'm sure that many of you know this, is you're really depleted. So you don't have the capacity to do all the things that you normally do. Like, I prefer to train most days of the week, have a certain level of willpower when it comes to things like not doing my default coping mechanism, which is if I'm not coping very well, I go, oh, fuck it, I'm just going to have wine, right? Something that I've done on and off for a long time. So when you're in that state, you just don't have willpower. You don't have the capacity to prepare food the way that one normally does. Like, I've had really solid routines in my life for a really long time that are really important for my regulation. So a long time ago, I learned that food prep Sundays just needs to be a thing. If I lose my Sunday, my week goes to shit. So it's really important that I eat properly for my body type and for my mental health, have enough water, don't drink too much. There's a whole bunch of things that go into wellness, right? And the formula might be different for each person. There are some staples, though, some foundational things such as get enough sleep, movement, water, have healthy relationships. I need to speed this up a little bit, I feel. So I was really sick. I was really depleted, wasn't doing the self-care stuff that I needed to be doing. I have complex PTSD, and I've had it for a long time. I've had lots of treatment for it. I know lots of things about managing it to the best of my ability. You can hear my dog tapping maybe. And after I had the surgery, you coming, buddy? Nope. I thought everything would just magically get better. But I was so depleted, it wasn't funny. So we're talking early 2023. And I had a bricks and mortar business. It was a pole and fitness studio. And I had the misfortune of having a few teachers need to leave for various reasons, like new jobs, moving away, change of focus, stuff like that. So on top of being really sick and having surgery, I ended up teaching like 14, 15 hours a week on top of running the business. I was doing like 50 to 60 hour weeks. It was dreadful. And I crashed and burned. And like I said, I'd had this idea and spoke to my mentor friend, Gary, about it, and he liked the idea as a project that we could work on together. At the time, I called it Fight for Your Life, but Fight for Your Life is Series 1, and we'll talk a bit about that in a minute. But in my, I don't know, maybe ego, but this always happens when I think I'm at a certain point. I go, I know enough that I can teach it. I'd like to unpack that. I think I've got the pathway. The universe comes and slaps me somewhere and says, no, you don't. So I think that I was like, yeah, let's make this. We've got the pathway. We know what the pathway is. And I only to over 2022, 2023, I started to really not want to be here. Having a kidney problem that just kept resurfacing and could make me really sick. Like when I was a single mum and my son was younger, I would be so sick and I'd have to have these big needles in my bum and I could be sick for months. It was terrible. It was a terrible condition. And it hurts because you literally imagine having a stone in your shoulder. And my mental health was not great. I'd lost a lot. I thought I was with like my last long-term proper partner. I felt was my best friend, but they actually cheated on me and got back with their ex, and that had a big impact on me in the studio. And I just felt like I'd put all this effort into my trauma recovery, and it just felt like it wasn't getting anywhere. Like, is it ever going to stop? And probably one of my biggest lessons in that time when I finally came through and went, I don't want to be unalived, was one is what acceptance looks like. So I do have a lifelong kidney condition. I do have complex PTSD and it is currently incurable. So instead of being a sad sack forever and wanting to be unalived and being pissy that I couldn't do that, I decided to start exploring what does being alive look like and re-look at this project and redefine the pathway with my friend and we followed the dots a bit, followed spirit a bit. We sort of had a pathway and then we'd often follow our impulse. And yeah, still thought, okay, let's make this map. But this time, very, very few people knew that it was actually, I felt like crying saying this, it was actually me trying to stay alive. Really, really trying really hard. And I really hope that in Australia, some of the, I don't want to like that make goes out. In Australia, I hope that we get more access to treatment soon. I see some great stuff happening overseas and I would love for that to happen here. And that said, in the last, 2025 now, in the last 2 years, I've had, I wouldn't say a big turnaround in my, well, it is fairly big, but there's been a turnaround in my way that I view what I have, the level of acceptance I have of other people and their shit instead of, there's so much. There is so much. So Fight for Your Life was truly born because I was fighting for mine. And I did have a half-assed plan. People like, you train in this stuff, you're trained to check if there's a plan. But I was grateful for a message from a psychiatrist a couple of years ago who said people need to stop thinking that the unalive ideation is just ideation, because it can slip really, really quickly into actually being unalived, and that people need to take that more seriously. And reading that in my own report, because I'd be busy reassuring people, oh no, I'm not. But the reality was that when I shut my business down, I really had enough. I tried so hard. I wasn't meant to run it by myself. That wasn't the plan. The plan was to grow it, put a manager in place and go write books. The numbers actually worked really well until half the business got poached, and then I rebuilt it, and then we got COVID, and then everybody got fragile about spending money and wanting to do their bucket list things, and small boutique gyms really suffered here in Australia. But anyway, I made the decision to shut it down. Is my mic on? Yes, it is. And part of that was there was actually a fair amount of debt. In my sickness, I had actually gotten a couple of loans, and thinking that I'd be able to get back on my feet, and I trained all my staff, but then people had to leave. I'd be able to pay them off, and I just got depleted. And there was other financial factors that played into that. So my sort of plan was that I was going to work through dealing with all this debt that had happened, because if I did do my pseudo plan, I didn't want my son or anyone else having to deal with that level of debt. And I remember consciously thinking that I was walking two paths. I didn't bring tissues, I feel like crying. And hoping that the path of making this program and continuing therapy and finding the right therapist and coming back to the daily practices that I know work, I hoped that the pseudo plan would just disappear. And I figured that's what would happen if I don't know, get up and view sunlight in the first 30 minutes, train, make sure I eat properly, anchor into my true self, do no sleep, deep rest in the middle of the day, give my dopamine a boost, press pause. All of those things would lead to me doing things like drinking less, having more hope, feeling better, and not wanting to stop being here. So Fight for Your Life was really born of that. And you might think, why would I watch this? Like, who are you? Well, I'm a normal person like you. I've had a lot of trauma. The first 18 years of my life were really filled with a lot of CSA, DV. Is R a word? I'm sure we all know what that means in the context of the other acronyms I just said. My body took a lot. And the thing that helped me a lot was my brain. I was quite academic, and I just threw myself into my schoolwork and made sure I got pretty much straight A's, other than PE, and math. So it was a long, hard life with a lot of costs. My body has taken so much, and I'm not minimizing anybody else in the world by saying that. I don't know why I would say that, probably minimizing myself. I've taken a lot of beatings. I've got permanent injuries. It was pretty freaking hard. So because of the life that I had, I was very diligent about starting therapy early. I noticed very young that despite saying I wasn't going to... You come in, buddy? Let's see if we can see him. Hello, buddy. We love you. The old, I'm not going to be like my mum trick. But then realizing I was yelling at my little kid, and I was like, well, this is shit, and put myself in therapy. Put myself in therapy in my early 20s. And I've just been really, really diligent about my healing and my self-reflection and my accountability and responsibility. And some of those things took a real bit to come to. So when I was diagnosed with complex PTSD, I had an understanding now of why I was reacting the way that I was, and I was understanding that I was triggered. And then I would realize that sometimes I'd communicate that stuff to a partner and they might use it against me. Red flag, guys. And so I spent a lot of time studying. I've got various qualifications in coaching, personal training, career coaching. And what I really believe, I guess at my core, let's go to all people, if we have the right environment, we can uncover our superpowers. And as a young youth worker, that was my sort of goal when I worked with people was, you don't know what you're good at until you actually try it, right? So I didn't know I could sculpt until I was just mucking about with a bit of clay one day. I was going to make a pot and I accidentally made a human. And I was like, oh my God, I can sculpt. And it was a really super experience because I could take that forward in my work with others and go, well, what does that mean for everything else? You try this. Oh, maybe I'm good at that. Try that. Just try it and see. Suck it and see. So there's that. But then when it comes to trauma, and people have different views, and I'm not telling people what to think. This is my view and experience is if we just sit in it and we're like, life sucks, all this stuff happened to us, me, and I've been there. It's your fault that this has happened. It's your fault. It's your fault. All the blame stuff. It's not my fault that I'm like this. And I didn't finish what I was saying before. I've got ADD and my meds are running out. But I think I was using it as an excuse. I was like, well, I can't do anything about it. Like, I've got these triggers and you're setting them off and then I'm getting angry back and you shouldn't talk to me like that. And that's right. Like, someone shouldn't talk to you poorly. But what I came to believe in my first, definitely not my first, a big level of accountability and taking responsibility was that I'm not going to use my triggers as excuses and that I need to get in the way of me hurting other people by my shutting down or my fire. And that doesn't mean that it won't ever happen again, but I certainly do the work to, as Dr. Viktor Frankl said, create the space between stimulus and response. And that's definitely not the accurate quote, but when I read that book, the advice of my then psychologist, and read that quote came across me. People say it's not by him, but I got that then. So I don't know. I haven't reread the book to find out, but that became like my life's work. I made a phone screensaver. And then I realized how hard it was. I was like, there is no space between stimulus and response. It was just, and I remember my son trying to teach me about the iceberg of feelings that I talk to people all the time. I was like, dude, I know about that. That's not how my body works. Like, there is no build up. It just was 0 to 100, like that. And it could be shutting down or it could be fire or, so I had to work through all that stuff. So what am I saying? I have a list. Back to why. So I think I was using it as an excuse, and then eventually I learned some skills to get in the way of that. And we're talking 6 years ago that big relationship ended, and that was one in which I really did well in the last part of it at going, I'm not doing this. And he could yell at me and I'd walk away. And it became very rare that I would fire up back. And that talking about things is how you work things out. And if that other person doesn't want to work them out, and you've invited them to and you've tried and you've represented yourself well and properly, then sometimes you do have to leave. Unless you're going to put up with it and become a bad person as well, which is not a good plan. Because that's how the cycle of intergenerational trauma continues and spins and spins. So if we go to the next thing that I really, really, truly believe about superpowered evolution for me is that I'm still working out words, superpowered revolution, evolution. If we all take responsibility and do our healing work, and for some of us it's going to be harder than others, but if we take responsibility and step in the right direction and start impacting people less, human evolution will be superpowered. And I'm not the only one saying this. There's people across the globe saying things like this, and this is just my little piece. If we do those things that get in the way of us actually causing harm to other people, and there's so many harms, and I might make a note of that What harms do I give a about? What harms? There are so many ways that people hurt each other. But if we actually get in the way of the next generation not being hurt by the work that we do and the things that we take a stand for, and if heaps and heaps of people do it, it will be a superpowered evolution. And other people than me say things like trauma recovery is the next wave of human evolution. And I really, really, really hope that's true, because if many of us embrace that, we're not going to have some of the situations in the world that we have now. And there's going to be so much good that comes out of healing and following our North Star and our purpose and stuff like that. So the podcast itself and the brand, the whole big thing, is called Superpowered Evolution. Series 1 of the podcast is called Fight for Your Life, because it is a fight for many of us. And by the end of that, it's not a course, it's just educational content. There might be a course one day. And then there's the next phases of trauma recovery. I'm not fighting for my life now. If I was to make the next series, I actually have it all, I've all written it up. It's all done. But the last one is laying down your sword. We don't have to fight anymore. Or maybe the next one's laying down your sword. And then the next one's something about mentorship and meaning making and lifting up people. So the aim of the podcast itself is to make the language of trauma and trauma recovery accessible and to create conversations around it. So we'd love if you comment and ask questions. And I'm very well aware that I'm not the only one doing this. And I'm sort of the mind that we'll get this content out there and see if there's a need for the next ones. But I think there is, this is my experience as a human and people like me can relate to me. And the first series is actually done with a psychotherapist. So it's a therapist and a therapy having conversations about their experience on either side of the table, so to speak, and try to make that accessible. And with that heart of if we can make a difference, we need to. So that's what that's all about. I also want to say something, like I said before, in early 2022. No, this started late 2022 filming. So the first episode that you can see is late 2022. And if you notice, I actually spoke with a student of mine this morning about this, and I said, "Oh, you might notice that I wasn't okay." And she's like, yeah, I kind of wondered. And it made me think, and I was like, "Oh, should have I not even put it out there?" And I remember Gary saying to me repeatedly, he said it so many times, "You don't have to do this, I kept getting triggered because I was weak and tired and sick. I was easily triggered. I had a lot going on. I'd had some really bad things happen, really hard things happen. Lots of really deep betrayals that turned into some really valuable learning." Gotta write that down. But I persisted, and I said to him a number of times, "You don't understand. This is keeping me going, this level of meaning. I do a podcast with him and just feel energized and just want to keep working on it and make the complementary content that goes out and the social media stuff and the resources. I love making educational content and explaining it to people and sharing knowledge. And then I'd go to the studio I own and just flop, just be like, "Oh, I don't want to do this." And truth be told, I actually love teaching pole and fitness, but it was in such a toxic mess of a state that I just didn't want it. So you'll see that I am not okay. In a lot of the videos, I'm coming off the back of being triggered. I know in one of them, I said to him, "I probably should be cancelling this because I got really badly triggered yesterday, but I've just been to the beach and I've done this. So we talked about it on the podcast and talked about the things that I did to bring myself back to center, or you might know the zone of tolerance, back into the green zone. And I'm just writing down window of tolerance because there's some things I want to just talk about by myself of here. I talk to people all the time, my clients, and mostly it's free because I just get into conversations with people. And then somehow we end up on some track and I tune into what is happening for them. If you're into human design, I'm a projector, so my aura is all encompassing, and it's like I can basically feel what is happening for you, and then I can put my finger on it. And I don't mean to do it, and so I'm very consent focused in conversation. Like, I'll often check in if people are okay to keep talking and stuff like that, so it's not invasive. But yeah, so she noticed that I wasn't okay, and I've been wanting to do this video for a while to actually share I wasn't okay. I wasn't okay for a whole chunk of it. I was triggered and triggered and triggered. And watching it, I'm like, oh, why did I put this out there? Because I bloody made it and I'm attached to it, okay? And I really hope that it does help people. I actually hope that it is March 2025 now. You can probably tell if you go and look at that video and look at this one, I'm not like, ooh, disjointed and discombobulated. I just kept popping out, and I really hope that it is of value. I hope that it's not too hard to listen to or watch. And I'd love if you do send in questions and stuff like that, because I and we can answer them. So I've explained what it is and what it's about, who's making it. I am the project person. And I guess it's a way of tracking my own healing journey too. Like, if you look at Fight for Your Life, that's where I was. And here's the things that I learned in that time, and with the lens of a psychotherapist actually feeding into that structure and that content. So we made that together, and then we obviously recorded it, blah, blah, blah. And as we go on, people will see that I'm getting better and better and healthier, and that's because I'm doing the work. And yeah, I just hope that it's valuable, and what will happen as I continue to roll these out. So the first one came out and I've shared a little bit of content, but the intention is that each one will have a takeaway. So from next week, when the next one comes out, I'm calling this today's one. The other one's ready to go almost. I need to do an intro and outro like this because I didn't put one in the last one, and I want to do that moving forward, because each one is meant to have a takeaway and an actionable step, like Mr. Huberman. And I think that's really helpful and really important. Whether it's something that you can observe, or whether it's something that you can do, or something you can journal about, I think that it's important to integrate what you're learning into your life in a really simple way. So the ones moving forward from today will have those actionable takeaways and some things you can download. There already is things you can download in the first one. And also what you'll see on my channel is a bunch of fitness stuff. So I'll finish with this. What I'm really wanting is to make and to share with the world. One is books, and I'm an advocate as well, but I really want to make as much of this education as accessible as possible, and then link people in with the right people. I'm not a therapist. I'm not saying I'm going to help you release and recover your trauma, or get it out of your body. But what I can do as a personal trainer and meaning and healing coach, career coach, all the stuff that I've studied, somatic stuff and mindfulness stuff and all these different things, is I can help you on your step one. I can educate you with professional people and with my own experience about what things are, what they feel like, what things worked for me, and that you might be able to take away for yourself. And share the things that I think really, really work. And everyone says the same stuff. Like, I watched a video the other day and it's like it was new research, and the guy's like, you really need to pair, these two men, they're like, you really need to pair training with therapy. And I was like, as in physical training? And I was like, oh my God, no shit, Sherlock. Yes, you need to freaking pair training with your therapy. Anyway, so I provide fitness videos. I'm a fitness coach, personal trainer. I spent years and years teaching people and training myself, and doing things like competing at pole and stuff like that. Not much, just a little bit, but it was super fun. And so I actually have a subscription where there's all these different fitness classes. There's boxing, but it's just shadow boxing because it's good fun cardio. You can use a bag if you have one, and I do strength training, flexibility training, somatic restore and recover sessions, and they're all available in the subscription. I do one-to-one work with people in small groups in real life at my home, but the best way to get to me is the subscription, or book some one-to-one time. And there's lots of printables and resources to make this stuff easy for you. And as I go on and get better, more valuable things will be put in there. So there's 4 videos a month going at the moment, and it's been around for about 9 months now. So there's heaps of content in there. And I'm making courses now. So in the next few weeks, there'll be one on returning to movement again. There's a few free videos in my channel that you can follow along with if you are wanting to return to movement and it's been a while for you. There's 3 different ones. The heading says Find Fitness Your Way at the moment. And then the aim is to provide lots of education on here about the things that I've learned on my path, and hopefully it's of value, and I'll interview more people. I've got more projects coming. Some of them are top secret, but they're super fun. Ways of looking at the future and why we would want to bother doing things now. Like, so many people are like, oh, what I do isn't going to make a difference. But it can. And I'm going to I've said Huberman twice already. I'm going to say it one more time. Look what he's done. Like, he's obviously a scientist, but and he's a uni lecturer, whatever. Sorry if that's disrespectful, tenured professor. But one man has made a huge difference in the world with the work that he's done. And I think that's really, really inspiring. And I actually think that all of us, every single one of us, can make a difference in the world around us, make a difference in the lives around us. And by giving somebody a little bit of extra time, by giving someone a smile, by choosing not to be aggressive when maybe that's your nature and you need to notice that and not suppress it, but do the things that you need to do to process into the person that you want to be. There's so much that we can do to better the world around us. So I hope that, I don't know, that was maybe a little bit inspiring, helpful. Hit me up with any questions, fitness related or trauma recovery stuff. Just remember, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a doctor. I pop that disclaimer around the place. The views I represent are my own. And that's all for the what the heck is this podcast about topic. So thank you for watching. Please remember to like, share and subscribe. And if you do like this, do share it to people and be like, oh, hey, this chick might be able to give you some info. I'd love to give you a heads up on what's coming on the podcast, but I honestly have no idea. I've recorded like 10 of them. We've got stuff on relationships and attachment theory. Most of the stuff that we share has stories and takeaways, things you can do, as I said. Stuff about turning family systems, what's happening in our inner world, how does trauma even happen, like what is happening in the body and the brain, all that stuff so that you can understand it. Because so many people, this is probably the other cool thing that I believe in, I will wrap up on this. A lot of people don't realize they've got trauma. So like I've had clients and they come to me and they are maybe aching, or they're feeling like they can't train anymore because of the aching in their body, or they're having all these symptoms that make no sense. And I'll just ask them straight up first. I'm not sure if I'll continue doing this, but I might. Do you relate to the phrase, I've been through trauma? And most people say no. And then I'll say, oh, is it okay to ask you a few more questions? You obviously want to get to the bottom of this. And then usually basically it's what I've tuned into. I can't explain it any other way. Like I'll look at the person and think about what I know about them and what I have deduced and ask a few more questions, and they'll be like, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. And then they see you see the whatever click. So much trauma behavior from our parents has been normalized. And it's okay in that, not okay is not the right word, but we didn't know back then what we know now, right? So we can say with grace and love and compassion, okay, that wasn't okay. We didn't know that then. Effed up a bunch of humans. Let's not keep making the same mistakes again. That's basically it, like evolve. So then when I unpack with them, okay, I ask you a few more questions, and I don't even know how I know these questions, honestly, sometimes, because I think I am tuning into people and what I know about them and sensing from them or whatever. And then they're like, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. And you see the penny drop is the phrase. Oh, I have been. And it's like, you explain that trauma doesn't have to be intense CSA or intense physical stuff. It can be so many things, and we talk about that more in the podcast. I won't go on about it now. But the reality is so many people who've been through trauma don't realize it. They don't realize that their people-pleasing and their lying from people-pleasing has a cost. They don't realize that their dominance has a cost. A lot of women dominate as well. And there's good reason that they want to take that shape with that journey they've been on, but it's not necessarily the right way for evolution to occur in a helpful way from this point. So I would like more people to understand that they have trauma experiences so that they can restore and regulate, so that they cause less damage in the world with their footprint. And then if we all do that, the world is going to be so much better for the next generation. So that said, thank you for watching. Thank you for your interest in trauma recovery. I'm still trying to come up with my end phrase. I did a brainstorm the other day and I don't know where I put it. So that's great. But yes, thank you for your interest in trauma recovery, and here is to your healing and your hope. Thank you for watching. Bye.